Exploring language, a wild world of dialects, accents, and more. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's deep dive into the fascinating world of language variation and change. Language is alive, constantly evolving and adapting like a chameleon, blending into a rainbow. We're going to explore the intricate ways language changes from region to region, across social groups, and even within individuals. So buckle up, word nerds, because we're about to embark on a journey that reveals just how diverse, dynamic, and downright cool language really is. Let's get started. Dialectology, mapping the linguistic landscape. First up, let's talk about dialectology, the study of dialects. Dialectology is like being a linguistic detective, tracing the fascinating paths languages take as they spread and evolve across different regions. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how people from different parts of the same country, maybe even the same state, can speak the same language but sound totally different? Take the United States, for example. Someone from New York might say coffee with a distinct accent compared to someone from Texas, right? And it's not just pronunciation. Vocabulary can change too. A sub in New York might be a hoagie in Philadelphia, or a grinder in Boston, all referring to the same delicious sandwich. These regional differences in pronunciation, vocabulary, and even grammar are what we call dialects. Dialects aren't wrong ways of speaking, they're just variations that develop over time as groups of people adapt their language to their specific environment and social context. Migration patterns, geographical isolation, even contact with other languages. All of these factors can influence how a dialect forms and changes over time. Dialectology helps us map these variations, creating a sort of linguistic atlas that shows how language changes across different regions. It's like having a colorful tapestry of accents, words, and grammatical structures, each thread representing a unique aspect of a region's linguistic history. But dialectology isn't just about drawing lines on maps. It also delves into the social factors that influence dialect variation. By studying dialects, we're not just learning about language, we're gaining insights into history, culture, and the fascinating ways people interact with each other. Sociolects, language and the social ladder. How does language vary within the same city, town, or neighborhood? That's where sociolects come in. Sociolects reflect our social class, education, occupation, and aspirations. Imagine two people in London, a university professor and a construction worker. Despite living in the same city, their speech patterns, vocabulary, and grammar differ. The professor might use more formal grammar and a wider vocabulary. Our social roles and backgrounds influence our language. Slang and jargon distinguish subcultures, creating a sense of belonging. Sociolects signal our place in the social hierarchy. As we move through social circles, our language adapts to reflect these shifts. Ethnolects, cultural identity woven into language. Now let's turn our attention to ethnolects, which are language variations closely tied to specific ethnic groups. These linguistic varieties are like vibrant threads woven into the tapestry of a multicultural society, reflecting the unique cultural and historical experiences of different communities. Imagine for a moment a neighborhood in New York City, a melting pot of cultures and languages. Within this neighborhood, you might hear African American vernacular English, AAVE, a distinct ethnolect with its own rich history and grammatical features. Or perhaps you'll overhear conversations in Spanglish, a blend of Spanish and English that reflects the fluid identities of many Latinx communities. Ethnolects often develop when communities maintain elements of their original language while adapting to a new dominant language. This linguistic fusion creates unique dialects that reflect the group's cultural heritage and their experiences in a new linguistic landscape. They might retain certain grammatical structures, pronunciation patterns, or even words and phrases from their original language, blending them with the dominant language to create something entirely new. The study of ethnolects allows us to appreciate the resilience of cultural identity and the ways language can act as a powerful tool for preserving heritage and building community. It's a reminder that linguistic diversity enriches our world, offering different perspectives and ways of expressing ourselves. We've explored how language varies across regions, social groups, and ethnicities. But what about the most fundamental unit of language variation, the individual? That's where the concept of the idiolect comes into play. An idiolect is your own unique way of speaking, your personal linguistic fingerprint. It's what makes your speech uniquely yours, shaped by a fascinating combination of factors that are as individual as you are. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that even within your own family or circle of friends, no two people speak exactly the same way? Sure, you might share some regional dialect features or slang terms, but there are always subtle differences in pronunciation, word choice, and even the rhythm and intonation of your speech. Your idiolect is shaped by a whole symphony of influences. Your family background plays a role, of course. Did you grow up in a household where several languages were spoken? Did your parents have strong regional accents that rubbed off on you? Your education, your profession, your hobbies, your passions, they all leave their mark on the way you use language. Beyond these external factors, your personality also shines through in your idiolect. Are you naturally chatty and expressive, or more reserved and contemplative? Do you love to tell stories and crack jokes, or are you more direct and to the point in your communication style? All of these tendencies, conscious and unconscious, influence your unique way of speaking. Your idiolect is constantly evolving too. As you encounter new people, travel to new places, read new books, or simply go about your daily life, your language adapts and absorbs these experiences. Now, let's talk about a fascinating linguistic phenomenon that highlights the dynamic nature of language and the fluidity of identity code switching. Imagine a conversation where someone seamlessly switches between two or more languages or dialects. Sometimes even within the same sentence. That's code switching in action, a linguistic dance that's both strategic and expressive. Code switching is often observed in multilingual and multicultural communities where individuals navigate multiple linguistic worlds with impressive dexterity. For example, a bilingual person might start a sentence in English and effortlessly weave in a Spanish phrase, reflecting their comfort and fluency in both languages. But code switching isn't just about linguistic ability, it's also a powerful tool for social connection and identity expression. It can be used to signal belonging to a particular group, establish rapport with speakers of a shared language or dialect, or even convey subtle nuances of meaning that might be lost in translation. Think about a group of friends who all speak the same regional dialect. They might code switch into a more standard dialect when speaking to someone outside their group, then effortlessly switch back when they're alone again. Or consider a comedian who uses code switching to connect with different segments of their audience, drawing laughter and understanding through shared cultural references. While code switching is often a subconscious act, it reflects a high level of linguistic awareness and social intelligence. It demonstrates an understanding of the subtle nuances of language and the ability to adapt one's speech to suit different contexts and audiences. In our exploration of language variation and change, we've covered a lot of ground, from dialects to idiolects. But there's one more crucial aspect: language shift. This is when communities abandon their native language for a dominant one. It's a complex phenomenon, reflecting social, economic, and political forces. Imagine a small indigenous community in a remote region. Their language is the lifeblood of their culture, passed down through stories and songs. But as the outside world encroaches, they face a choice: hold on to their language or adapt. This is the heart of language shift. It often happens when communities face pressure to assimilate for economic or educational reasons. Children might speak the dominant language, while elders speak the ancestral one. Over time, the ancestral language can dwindle, leading to endangerment or extinction. UNESCO estimates over 40% of the world's languages are endangered. This loss is a tragedy, as each language represents a unique cultural heritage. Sometimes it can be a story of adaptation and resilience. Communities might preserve their languages through immersion schools, documenting stories, or incorporating language into art and music. So there you have it, a whirlwind tour of the fascinating world of language variation and change. We've explored how language acts as a map of regional differences, a mirror reflecting social dynamics and even a fingerprint unique to each individual. We've seen how languages evolve, adapt, and sometimes even face the threat of extinction. The takeaway from all of this, language is anything but static. It's a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving and reflecting the incredible diversity of human experience. Understanding these concepts allows us to move beyond simplistic notions of correct or incorrect language and appreciate the richness and complexity of human communication in all its forms.